Hi, I'm Dan Leonard in the East.
And I'm George Whittam in the West.
And together we are East-West Audio Body Shop. You know something? We are in a fabulous business in the voiceover business, and one of the reasons is some of the great people that are in it. And this week, our guest is one of them, one of those great people. She is multilingual. She is an expert in a bunch of different things when it comes to voiceover production, and she's just a really nice gal. Liz de Nesnera will be with us, and we've got some great questions for her, and we'll learn a lot about how she does what she does.
In a Whittam's World series, I'll be talking about our need to upgrade equipment. Is it time? And when do you determine that the gear you already own is getting long in the tooth? When does it start dying? Does it degrade? Does it get noisier? I'll be sharing my thoughts.
I'm going to talk this week about some of the great opportunities that we have in our business. Some people are just doing audiobooks. Some people are just doing this. Maybe you need to diversify to find out really where your specialty is. That's East-West Audio Body Shop, 9 o'clock in the East.
And 6 o'clock in the West.
And join us in the chat room. It gets better every week. We'll see you there.
He's the home voiceover studio engineer to the stars in Los Angeles, California. A Virginia Tech grad whose knowledge of the latest recording gear is second to none. He's a voice actor and the home studio master, hailing from Buffalo, New York. His home studio skills and knowledge of voiceover recording is unmatched. When Dan and George talk shop, people listen, and the talk continues tonight. Welcome to East-West Audio Body Shop. And now, live from his high-tech facility in Santa Monica and his penthouse studio in Buffalo, here are George Whittam and Dan Leonard.
When Oh, hey!
Oh, God.
Oh. Yes. Well, hi, I'm Dan Leonard in the East.
And I'm George Whittam in the West.
And together we are
East-West Audio Slotty Bop.
What did you say? We're the soda? What?
East Audio Slotty Bop.
Slotty Bop. Right. Happy St. Patty's Day to all of you.
Yes.
This is the closest Hawaiian shirt I could find to being a St. Patty's pattern today. You got your hat on there.
Yes, custom built by an artisan by the name of Ella.
Wow. Oh, now she's starting to make stuff.
Oh, she's been making stuff, but this one was by request specifically.
Oh,
I said I need a hat for Daddy for the show tonight. So she made one.
All righty. Well, thanks for your patience out there. Little technical issue. We haven't had one of those in a while.
No, I kind of warned everybody that watches this show live that we were going to have an Apollo 13 moment tonight, probably, and I was absolutely right.
But we're on our way home, Houston.
That's right.
So anyway, but we have a fabulous show for you tonight. We've got, a wonderful lady is going to join us. Liz de Nesnera is going to join us, and she's got some great stuff to talk about. We're just kind of a good time because she's a great friend, but she knows some stuff that I think all you guys need to know. Mm-hmm. You've got your Whittam's World tonight. When is it time to get new gear?
Yeah, what do you do when things get weird, or do you know if things are getting weird?
Well, when things get weird, you know what they say.
The weird get going?
The weird get professional.
Oh, yeah. Right. I love that freaking movie.
Anyway, so starting off as weird as possible, I've got this roll of solder on my desk, and I've been playing with it all day. Mm-hmm. Eventually, it's not going to be there anymore, so let me just perhaps...
It's getting smaller because you've been playing with it more and more and more all day.
I know, and using it to solder nothing. But anyway. All right. Well,
you're like me. You're a fiddler. You get something in your fingers, and it starts coming apart and getting smaller. Yeah, I do the same thing.
Yeah, there's now pieces of solder all over my desk here. So anyway, well, I wanted to talk about something tonight.
Please.
Because it's been an interesting week of things. I'm involved in a lot of things. And it's just struck me that, as a voice actor, this is an absolutely amazing business. It really didn't exist in its present form less than 10 years ago. I mean, if you really think about it.
No.
You could say because of the technology, it's because of the technology that the fact that we can do this at home. Is that one of the reasons that we can do what we do? Well, that's true, but it's the technology of our clients that's actually driving it. Have any of you been watching Cosmos with Neil deGrasse Tyson on
I watched
PBS?
the first episode. It was pretty well. It was one heck of a special effects explosion. That's for sure.
And Seth MacFarlane is producing it.
Yeah, he's one of the executive producers,
which my son very rapidly pointed out to me.
Yeah,
but it's fabulous. Watched the episode last night on genetics and and how life evolved here. But it's as with the original Cosmos, it's all about infinite possibilities. When you talk about this great marketplace that we call planet Earth and all the business that's out there, as voice actors, we're a speck of sand in that universe of the marketplace. Are you okay there?
My hat fell off.
Bummer.
Sorry about that, man.
Anyway, back to what I was talking about. It used to be just radio and TV commercials, along with the occasional documentary narration, and that stuff is a mere speck of sand compared to the opportunities we have as voice artists today. So where am I going with this? Well, the internet changed everything. And every company has to have a website, and each has to market to their marketplace. Every high-tech industry you can think of needs to visually present their products, and they need us voice artists, us voice actors, those of us with microphones, to bring their stuff, those visuals, to life. So when I hear people say, I just do audiobooks, or I just do Promo Man, or I just do, local or regional car and furniture spots. If any of you have worked with me, you probably have heard me say this before. I try to point out that really, in this business today, is very limiting. The big driver in our business right now is really e-learning, and I guess we could call it e-motivation. There, I just coined a whole new phrase, e-motivation. And those of you who do those kinds of things know what I'm talking about. We're doing employee manuals, business-to-business promotions, IVR. Whoever thought you could pick up a job with a company just to do their voicemail system? And I'm not just talking their answering machine. And Liz de Nesnera is going to be with us later, and she's going to give us the lowdown on that a little bit. But it just boggles my mind of all the opportunities we have as voice artists to do just about anything. And the other great part about it is I get hired by a lot of high-tech companies to do their stuff. It's wonderful having your thumb on what's going on in the world, especially technology-wise, and explaining it to people, and actually almost on the fringe of understanding it. So it's one of those times when if you're doing like one thing or you're concentrating one thing, try something else. Really look at something else. Maybe you tried stuff for a little while and maybe you weren't getting anything. Well, now that you've been doing one thing, go back and try those other things again. If you're doing, audiobooks, try some animation. See if you can audition for some of that stuff. If you've been doing strictly promo, look at e-learning. Tremendous opportunity. You just look at some of the pay-to-plays and all the auditions that are like falling. It's like a Niagara Falls into your inbox. There's too much stuff out there to say that there's no opportunity. Well, there's nothing but opportunity in this business. And that's the way I see it today.
Very well said, my friend. Very, very well said. Yeah, if they do say that it's never been more important to kind of, and I'll do my little devil's advocate and then I'll circle around. Okay. But they do say that it's never been more important to specialize, in voiceover, because it's getting harder and harder to find a niche, and it's getting harder and harder to be overly diverse, because if you're overly diverse, you're competing against thousands and thousands of other people that are also overly diverse. But when you find a specialty that you're really good at, it definitely focus on it. However, when that focused specialty starts to, lose its luster or get uninteresting to you, or the amount of work flowing in is starting to dwindle, don't just say, well, there goes my business. Start looking into the diverse world of voiceover. Maybe you haven't looked at new areas to concentrate on in the last 3 or 4 years, and now in the last 3 or 4 years there's explainer videos and YouTube has exploded, and there's all these new genres of voice work that you maybe didn't even think about so it, may be time to reinvigorate your career. I mean, I have clients that have been, let's put it this way, that's not a nice way of saying it, or have been.
I wouldn't put it quite that way.
No, I mean, they were highly successful maybe 5-10 years ago, and now not so much. And they're needing to go out there and dip their fish hook back in the water again. And part of that is getting new coaching and getting coached on new types of, voice, new deliveries and stuff. So, keep looking around, stay in touch of what's available to you out there. Don't get stagnant.
That's right. Peter Bishop and dino porn. Yes, there's all sorts of interesting stuff out there.
Where did that start? I've seen it in the audiobook group crowd on Facebook. There's something somebody's got to come on one day and admit they started that meme or whatever you want to call it.
I guess it would be a meme. All right. Anyway, we got lots more coming up on the show tonight. Yeah. We actually have a question from somebody in the audience. We'll get to that in a second. And George has his Whitham's World this week coming up, and Liz de Nesnera will be with us so shortly. So stay right where you are. We'll be right back.
VO Studio Tech. Recording made simple.
Hi, I'm Peter McHugh.
This is Jim Tasker from Los Angeles, California.
Hi, this is Bill Ratner in Los Angeles.
Hi, this is Scott Rummel here in Yorba Linda, California.
Hi, my name is Rick Wasserman.
Hi, this is Tom Kane.
Hi, my name is Vanessa Marshall.
Hi, my name is Zurich.
Hi, I'm Mary McKittrick.
Randy Thomas chiming in.
Hi, this is Joe Szymanski.
Hey, this is Rick Robles.
Hi, my name is John Patrick Armstrong.
I was turned on to George by none other than Don LaFontaine, who always swore by his health.
George is absolutely awesome.
ISDN, Source Connect, Phone Patch, FTP, you name it, George has set it up.
It's really the best thing I've ever done for myself. I feel free, safe, fearless, like anything is possible in here.
Unless you like to look for opportunities to waste time, call George.
And he did all of that, long distance over the phone and the internet.
I'm very happy with George, and I cherish him.
Thanks, George. You make it easy.
So what else are you planning on doing tonight? I thought so. Now back to East West Audio Body Shop with Dan and George.
Yeah, Edge Studio is now my new boss, and it's been going great over there. The whole VO Studio Tech thing is under the umbrella of Edge Studio, who's one of our key sponsors on the show. We want to thank them for the support they're giving us to try and add new things to our roster and new equipment and all that. And if you haven't been to Edge Studio in a while, go over to edgestudio.com and check out the different types of programs that are available over there. We've got coaching programs, and we've got individual coaches you can work with. And there's also a pretty extensive production team over there as well. And we've added a couple new engineers in the last few months that are actually really quite excellent. So if you haven't checked into us in a while, do check it out over at edgestudio.com and tell them you heard about us over at EWABS.
Point to the logo.
Yep. That logo right there.
Okay, good. All right. Well, now that we've taken care of that, got an interesting question tonight, which is, of course, I have a
interesting answer?
An interesting answer.
Hopefully.
Our good friend Gerald Walker writes, I have tried for years to find the settings in Logic Pro X that will give my voice that voiceover quality sound. Now, you know where I'm going with this already, right?
Like broadcast quality? You mean that kind of quality?
He didn't say broadcast quality. He said voiceover quality.
Won't put words in his mouth. Sorry.
Okay. But you're right. It says, at times I need a more processed sound, and at other times I need a cleaner sounding voice. Mm-hmm. The problem is I don't know the correct settings in Logic Pro X to add processing to my voice or not.
Yeah.
Thanks, Gerald. Well, thanks, Gerald.
Don't say thanks too soon, my friend.
Yes, that's an awful loaded question because I'm all locked and ready to go on that one. You know, I think the first question you would ask there is, who's asking you to process stuff and for what reason? I know, I do an awful lot of stuff. I work full time in voiceover. Nobody asks me to process anything. I do, but that's what they expect from me. But again, don't look at stuff to say, I have to be able to process this stuff. In Logic Pro X, it's probably, it's just a menu-driven thing. And are you familiar with Logic Pro X at all?
I've used Logic, not Logic. I have not used the latest incarnation, Logic Pro X.
Yeah. If the thing is if you don't know how to do it, chances are you usually don't need it. But I know Gerald actually knows what to do with these things. It's probably a simple little menu-driven thing. And as I said last week, when all else fails, read the instructions. But the fact of the matter is unless you're really being asked to process something, don't. Just make sure that you're normalized right, at least at a -3, that you're recording hot enough. And there's no reason to use all this stuff to enhance your voice, to give yourself a voice. What is a voiceover sound? Can someone put up their hand and explain to me what a voiceover sound is? Voiceover, I don't get that.
Don't tell me it's something you heard on the radio.
Right.
Because that's a radio sound.
That doesn't come from you. It comes from being on the radio, which is, it goes through the transmitter and limiters and the Optimod and all this stuff. And it basically makes chewing gum out of your voice and all your audio and sends it out loud enough, because the thing with FM radio is it has to be a loud, compressed signal to carry a long, long way. So it's got nothing to do with what you do in your home studio. Just give them the dry voice.
It's almost as bad as what Audible does to audio samples that go up on their website.
Yeah, but we won't go into that. That's a discussion for another night.
Yes, it is. But
alrighty.
Yeah, no, the processing in Final Cut Pro X, if it's anything like Final Cut Pro previous version that I used before, it works a lot like Pro Tools. You can insert processing on a track and process the audio, but it's got some really weird idiosyncrasies, like the normalize function is a checkbox that is only available at the point of exporting. So if normalizing is part of your processing, which is actually the way I do things, you can't do that with Logic Pro. So that's a weird, wonky thing about Logic. It's got some other idiosyncrasies, but honestly, we can teach you all day long how to turn knobs, what the EQ does, what the gate does, how those things all work. But if you're not an engineer, in other words, you don't have the engineering chops to get the sound that you think you want to hear out of the software, none of that's going to help you. I mean, that's one reason why I provide sound templates for people that do have some processing on it based on what my tastes are.
As do I.
Yeah. I mean, it's based on what our tastes are, what we think the client might want, but the client doesn't know what they want. So you can't give them what they don't know, right? So you're just hoping that you're going to hit the target, and hit that pocket, whatever that pocket is. It's hard. So that's why we generally err on the side of minimal processing, the absolute minimum, and then add more in only when the job requests it. Like if you are doing radio imaging, then you would process it like you were doing stuff for the radio.
Right.
So,
and out of the almost 70 people watching tonight, how many of you are doing actual imaging stuff? I'm sure a few of you are, but
yeah.
And as Anthony says, the Logic is really great if you're a musician.
It's a killer compositional tool. I mean, that's no doubt about it. But for voice acting, it's just as overkill as Pro Tools is in its own weird way. It's got its own huge list of idiosyncrasies. Do yourself a favor and try out Twisted Wave before you delve too much further down the rabbit hole.
Right.
And if you're not interested in that idea, well, hire one of us. We'll be happy to slog through it with you.
Right. All righty.
So well, run my package.
I think yes. I wouldn't quite describe it that way, but yes, go run your package and let's take a look at the latest Whittam's World.
Here we go.
Ladies and gentlemen,
we're about to get started. Ladies and gentlemen, George Whittam.
Hey everybody, this is George Whittam reporting from Whittam's World. This week's question comes in from Tom J. Dolan. Just prior to leaving Sherman Oaks for Tokyo 2 years ago, my M-Box Mini had a coronary. We were about 10 days from the shipping company pickup, and I panicked, as I didn't want to have to go shopping here for a replacement. I ran over to Guitar Center on Ventura, and I bought a Focusrite Sapphire 6, brought it home, plugged it in, tested it with Twisted Wave. It worked. I repacked it, put it in a shipping carton, and didn't see it again for about 10 weeks. Fast forward, occasionally get a request for a test line read, and I submit online. So I'm sitting here last week looking at my equipment and wondering, is all this stuff I bought in 2009, except for the Focusrite, got to be getting kind of old, no? How do I know if my audio is what it used to be? Is there any natural audio degradation with my mic, speakers, headphones? Could it be changing over ever so slowly that I wouldn't notice? When is it time to think about replacement of home studio equipment? Modern audio equipment, and when I say modern, I mean stuff made in the last 20 years or so, has been optimized to the point where it doesn't really degrade, at least the solid state componentry, which are the circuits inside the box. They don't really degrade much in a detectable way over time. It used to be older audio equipment, maybe pre-90s, 80s, 70s, things like that, definitely had issues because they used what are called electrolytic capacitors. And electrolytic capacitors have electrolytic fluid in them, which actually dries out over time, over the course of many years. What happens with equipment with electrolytic capacitors is the signal can start to get a little bit noisy, and just the noise floor in general gets worse and worse. If it's a mic preamp, the gain might get less and less, things like that. And certainly if the equipment has tubes in it, tubes are not solid state. They are, mechanical devices inside, electromechanical devices, and they do degrade over time and can be damaged in shipment really easily. So certainly they are an exception to the rule. But any modern IC-based equipment, which are integrated circuits, gear that has mostly small chips inside, should last for many, many years without any issues. If it's been cared for properly, stored properly, kept in a decent temperature range, really there should be no reason to have to replace anything for quite a while. Microphones, of course, are probably the most sensitive to changes in temperature and humidity. So again, if they could possibly over time start to change their tonal characteristics, they can gain a layer of dirt on the capsule. Keep in mind that thin piece of metal or mylar inside there is a couple of microns thick, very, very thin. And so a coating of dust or dirt on that capsule will technically change the sound of that capsule over the years, generally making it sound a little bit more dull, not quite as bright as it was when it was new. If that's a concern for you, you can have your microphones professionally cleaned. Usually the manufacturer will have a rep that will do that for you, or a dealer or repair service that is authorized to do that kind of repair. And then there's third-party companies that do microphone repair that can help you with that as well. So really, it's not going to change that much. It probably isn't something you would detect unless you recorded something today and recorded something 6 years ago or 4 years ago in 2009, and then A-B'd the two and, compared the two recordings. And then there's a possibility you could hear a difference, but I tend to think that you probably will not hear the difference between the two. As long as all the gear has been maintained and is in good condition, you're not going to have any trouble. Buttons, switches, pots, knobs, if they get used heavily, of course, they're going to wear out faster. Speakers, as long as they don't rot out and dry rot in the surrounds that surround this driver, the woofer cone, that bit of rubber, as long as that's intact and not dry rotted and cracked, they should work great for many, many years. And headphones should last many years too if they don't get funky and degrade first. Like some of my favorite pairs up here. This is just from pure heavy-duty use wearing out over time and just pure abuse. This is what these headphones look like after about 10 years of straight use. So anyway, I hope you found that helpful, and anybody out there who's got older equipment, don't worry, but if you are concerned that the audio quality that you're getting from that old gear is possibly not where it used to be, send it over to me. Go over to vostudiotech.com, click on the sound check link and send in a file, and I'd be glad to take a listen and tell you if the audio you're recording is up to par or if something in the equipment needs to be replaced. And if you've got questions that you'd like to submit for future episodes of Whittam's World, send them on in to whittamsworld@edgestudio.com, and I'll get to it in a future episode. Thanks a lot for watching, everybody, and I'll see you next week.
And we're back.
Yep.
Here on East West Audio Body Shop. Yeah, it's, you only need new stuff if it's broken, but how do you know if it's broken?
Yeah, I mean, certain pieces of gear do degrade slowly, like tube stuff.
Sort of like your liver.
Yeah. And other stuff just dies. But, there's certain things that you can look for. I hope that video gave you a little idea. I mean, that video showed you a good reason why, A, you don't smoke near your mic, and B, always use a pop screen even if you don't need it, because stuff does fly out of your mouth.
And 3, don't smoke.
Yeah. Did we say that already? And D, or whatever, you can put a dust cover on your mic if it's in a really dusty environment. If you have a home that's really open to the elements and you have your windows open all the time, you could cover the microphone with a dust cover. Didn't somebody make little dust socks for microphones last year, Dan? Who was somebody who was selling them?
It was Amy.
It was Amy, yeah.
Amy Snively.
Right.
I think I still have mine here somewhere.
Yeah.
It was cute.
It was cute, yeah.
Anyway,
Let's
we
get
got
to Liz.
Yeah, we're running a little behind because of some technical difficulties, and we certainly want to get to Liz because she's a wonderful lady, and we want to have her on our show as soon as possible. So don't go anywhere. There's a lot of you here already. You want to hear what Liz has to say? We'll be right back here on East West Audio Body Shop.
And now, back to East West Audio Body Shop, where every week it's Apollo 13.
And we're back here in East West Audio Body Shop. Yeah, Apollo 13. I call that appropriate for tonight. We've had a run here. We've done so many shows in a row here in 2014. We've had almost no major technical problems. The occasional, broadband stuff, but
yeah.
But Liz is with us tonight.
Yeah.
She actually
of technical
is.
problem.
Yeah, I think we need to improve your picture there a little bit.
Sorry, guys.
That's kind of a.
I can talk to you individually. When I call up Dan, I see Dan. When I call up George, I see George. I just don't see the two of you together.
We're just giving you a hard time.
Yeah,
just giving you a hard time.
Just giving you a hard time. Don't worry about it.
Yes, I'm on a Windows machine. Yes, I am.
What version of Windows are you on?
Windows 8.
How's it been otherwise?
I use Skype every day.
Good. Well, it should work great because they have a common owner. Microsoft owns both.
Yes. Oh well.
So who knows? But we got you. We can hear you. That's really what matters.
That's the most important thing.
Oh yes, exactly. This is.
Yes. Oh, I can feel it just rolling downhill from here.
Exactly. This is just gonna be awesome.
All right. Well, I got to tell you, Liz, I hear that you love what you do.
I do. I love it.
Tell us why you love what you do.
I get up in the morning, I record stuff for clients, and they pay me. What's not to love?
What's not to love? That's for sure.
No, seriously. I mean, it's a great gig. It really is. There's a lot of work, and I've never worked harder for anyone else as I have for myself, which I think a lot of people don't realize when they first start in this lovely business of ours. But I love it. It's a lot of fun. I love my clients. I've fired one client in my almost decade of being a freelancer. So that's a pretty good track record. And beyond that, it's just fun. It's just fun.
Well, I couldn't think of a more fun thing to do, except maybe the show, which is always fun every week. Anyway, so how did you get into voiceover? I take it you came out of the broadcasting world like I did.
I did. I came out of radio, but the difference is I was never a DJ. I was actually a production director and a copywriter. So I was for a small radio station up in northern New Jersey, and they hired me right out of broadcasting school because I did the thing of, I was working at a corporate job in New York City. I started at the French Embassy in New York City, believe it or not, and hated it. And so decided to go to broadcasting school and got a job right out of that in a small radio station in northern New Jersey.
Which broadcasting school did you go to?
The one that's in Connecticut, but it was in New Jersey. I went to
that makes total sense.
Yeah, I went to CSB, I worked at night. I went there at night working full time. And basically learned enough to know which pots to pot up when I was recording something, and learned the rest on the job. And it was great. It was a lot of fun. I worked there for 5 years, and then I went to work for a corporate recording studio for another 9 years, and then went out on my own. So that was really one of the what I did, and it was really an interesting path because I never. I didn't start sort of in radio as most people start as being on the air. It was just really totally a different way of doing it, and it was fun. I really started behind the glass as opposed to behind the mic, and then when I got let go from the corporate job, I'm like, I want to be over there on that side. I don't want to be on the side where I have to do all the work. So now I just record and send. And you guys were in the chat. They were talking about processing and what you were talking about, George, on processing files and stuff. And I just record my files raw and send them to the client, and they can do it however the hell they want to do it.
See, that's the way to do it, and I think you're absolutely right. I think too many people tend to overthink the whole process. It's like, I've got to sound like this, I've got to sound like that. And, you've been doing this a long time and you understand. Yes. Most clients don't care.
They don't. I mean, I guess if you're in radio or if you're doing real, producing spots and things of that nature. But again, I don't have to do that. The producer will do that. And most people that I do a lot of corporate work. I do a lot of telephony work. And in terms of processing for telephony work, that's a little different because that requires different formats, and that's a different type of processing where you're actually creating different formats, not only WAV files and MP3 files, but Vox files and law files and NMS files and all of that. And so that's a whole different kettle of fish.
Right, and we'll talk about that in a little second, in just a few minutes, because IVR is an important one. That's your main thing, and I'm sure it'll be an interesting conversation. A lot of people should be thinking about that kind of stuff. But you were in radio and you did copywriting.
Yes.
And you and I were production directors. So
yes.
We have a lot in common there.
Mm-hmm.
You have to understand what being a production director is all about.
Keeping the salespeople off your back.
Right. I think in my entire career, I think I'm still friendly with one salesperson that I knew from radio.
That's about the same thing with me, actually. She got me into my local Rotary Club. I actually ran into her at the post office. She's like, Liz, I hadn't seen her in probably about 5 or 6 years. No, almost 10 years, I think, at that point. And she was the only one I stayed in touch with. So, the salespeople and production directors tend to tolerate each other.
Yeah, we're actually, it was usually like, all right, I need a spot in 10 minutes. Here's their business card.
Yes, exactly. Yes, I need this now. This needs to be on the air. I'm like, oh, okay, fine. No problem. Of course. Just like we do with our clients. Of course I can do that. Sure.
Of course. That's right. And then you would get the NAB copywriting guide, which was our Bible for writing copy. And it was an amazing thing to have. But
put your feet up on the desk.
That's right. And think of everything you could possibly think of that has to do with this business card.
Yes.
So it's like, let's see, there's a name, and that would be the end of it. But you'd always get it done.
Yeah,
anyway.
You had to get it done.
You really didn't have a whole heck of a lot of choice. So what got you out of broadcasting, aside from perhaps wanting to make a living?
It was honestly, small market radio, as you know, is just insane. And I was in it for 5 years, and it got to the point where I don't know how you felt, but September rolled around, and I started to hate the holidays. I did, because it was insane from the end of August until the end of September with the after Christmas sales. It was just insane. And so it got to the point by my 5th year that I was just like, no, I'm done. This is enough. And then, of course, wiring the studio until 4 a.m. because, of course, they wouldn't hire an engineer to do it. So it was me and the program director who were wiring the studios at 4 a.m. It just got to be a bit much. And so I just decided to say bye.
Yeah. And then what got you into voice? How long you've been getting actually into our internet-based voiceover business?
Oh, well, basically, I worked for a corporate recording studio for 9 years and was let go from that gig and decided, okay, I am going to just try to I had sat in for 9 years and I directed voice talent. That's what I did. I was production director also at this corporate recording studio, and I directed and was casting voice talent for 9 years. So that was my classroom. And I really just loved it. And I got to be really good friends with a lot of really talented voice talent. And I sat down with one of them after I got let go, and I started to do some VO for one of our clients. And they actually asked me to start doing their VO because the person that I was working for wasn't doing the way they wanted them to be done. So I started doing them. And so I had my first client before I left. And I still actually do work for them. So that's how I started. When I left, and I just decided to start it on my own and started getting clients, and it's been great ever since.
Yeah, and that's always the way it is. It's just like go from one and take advantage of the other.
Exactly.
All right. So one of the things that you really specialize in, and everybody is, they're amazed by how you do all this stuff, is we refer to it as telephony, or is it telephone? Telephony.
Telephony. Like a
potato. It's one of those things. Some of them call it IVR. What does IVR stand for, by the way?
Interactive voice response.
Why did you just call it voicemail?
Well, because it's not the same thing.
Oh,
interactive voice response is when you are interacting with the system. When it says, for tech support, press 1. For sales, press 2. You're interacting with it. That's what's called interactive voice response.
Now I understand.
That begins your lesson, Dan.
All right. I gotta write that one down. Let's see, voice response. Okay. All right. What special skills does it require to do that kind of work?
There are a couple of things. I mean, it's really not that hard, but it's really not. I mean, there are a lot of the main thing is consistency. And so what you need to be able to realize is that especially if you're creating a large system, I do systems for credit unions and banks and larger corporations, where I'll record an entire system set of, say, 3,000 prompts. That's numbers, letters, days of the week, days of the month, different set phrases. And then over the years, you're going to update those. But what has to happen is that the phrases that you initially recorded have to match and sound as if they were all recorded at the same time. So consistency is really important. And so there is a certain amount of processing that I do for certain IVR clients, which makes things a little bit more consistent. But it really is a matter of keeping the way that you record and your space as consistent as possible. Now, of course, if you upgrade mics, things might change a little bit. And some clients, frankly, don't know the difference and won't hear the difference. I will. And so I always try to be as consistent as possible. So that's one thing. Also, you need to be able to understand when somebody sends you a script, whether that phrase, here's another word for you, Dan, whether that phrase will be concatenated.
What was that again?
Concatenated, yes.
Concatenated.
Yes, that's when you have a phrase that is split into several pieces and can be used in different ways. So, in other words, the whole press 1, press 2, press 3, press 4, you can record that once, and it'll be added to the tail end of a whole bunch of different phrases. So you need to be able to know how to use the different intonations, rising, falling, neutral, where it's going to be in the sentence. Actually, grammar has a lot to do with telephony, to know whether you're ending a sentence, whether it's the beginning of a sentence, whether it's in the middle of a sentence, and how to actually vary the intonation when you're recording. So that's something to look at.
Yeah, I always thought about that. It's like, well, when you hear those things, it's like it all has to match up somehow.
Right.
When it all gets reassembled.
And that's why a lot of times when you're dealing in telephony, a lot of times what you're dealing actually with the IT person at the company, because they're the ones that are actually building what's called the system architecture. They're building how the files are going to be played one after the other. So you're not necessarily dealing with a quote-unquote creative. You'll have the person that will be writing the spots, or writing the prompts, but you're also going to be dealing a lot with the IT guy who is going to be putting everything together, and he has to know how the phrases are supposed to sound. So that's also, you're not only dealing with someone who's in the marketing department, you're very often dealing with an IT person, because they're going to tell you what format it needs to be in. They're going to tell you how much space, if they need a certain amount of space at the beginning and at the end of each file.
Right.
So those are the things that you're going to have to keep in mind. You also have to know what questions to ask, just like when you're doing stuff for e-learning or for commercials, is what format do you need the files in? Because a lot of people who don't do telephony, they're used to WAV files, they're used to AIF files, they're used to MP3 files, but with telephony, there are a lot of different types of files, mostly because a lot of the telephony systems, especially for larger corporations that were at the forefront of IVR, have older systems which were created prior to when MP3 files were created. So they're using very small files, which frankly really don't sound that good when you try to play them on your computer. And I've gotten calls from people from voice talent that say, well, I just recorded this file in 8-bit 8K box, and it sounds awful. I'm like, yes, it's going to sound awful on your computer. However, in the system, it's actually going to sound okay because it's set for that file. But you have to ask the clients, and a lot of times, especially if you're not dealing with the IT person, they will tell you, you'll ask them, well, what format do you need the file in? And they'll look at you and say, well, what's the standard file format? And you'll say, there is no standard file format. Your system has to know. You have to know what your system needs. And so then they have to go and find that. And they will try, more often than not, they will try to find it off on voice talent. Well, just give me the file I need. And I'm like, I don't know the answer to that. You have to tell me. And you have to not be able to, you have to be unafraid of asking the question, of telling them, you have to tell me, I can't know. I just don't know. There are too many systems out there.
All righty. Well, we got a lot more to talk about. We're going to have you we're actually going to have you call into George.
Okay.
So try, because we're having a little bit of trouble with Skype, and we're hearing most of what you're saying. Actually,
yeah, it's all coming through. There's just the occasional little blips here and there, and I think an actual traditional phone might sound better.
Okay.
Right.
So we'll have you do that in a minute. When we go to, so I'm going to send you a message in our little chat window in Skype.
I can.
In fact, if you look in there now, you should see there's a phone number.
I saw one before.
In our little chat feed.
Just scrolled back down then. Anyway, while you guys are doing that, you can pot her down and talk to her.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can't do that.
You can't do that?
I can't have you on your own. You're both on Skype. How am I supposed to pot her down?
Well, you can hang up on her and go on to Skype and tell her on her own chat window, though.
I will do that.
Okay. So
and you do the Harlan.
I will talk about something.
Do the Harlan thing.
Far less important. Anyway, okay. You know, when you need new stuff, as George was talking about not too long ago, you got to find the right place for it. You know, you could go to the big retail stores because you want it now. You got to walk in there. Now, you know, my number one rule of retail is never walk into a store unless you know what you want before you walk in there, because the guys in these big retail stores, as nice as they are, as committed as they are, as fantastic musicians they are, and recording engineers as they are, when you say, I'm going to have a voiceover studio, they're looking at you and all they see is Hawaiian Vacation written across your forehead. Harlan Hogan and Voiceover Essentials is not like that at all. They have a finite line of things that are there for your consumption as voice actors that are designed specifically for voice actors, like the Harlan Hogan VO1A, the voiceover microphone that you're hearing my, I don't know why people call them dulcet tones over right now, but it's designed for voiceover. It's done that way. And this is the one you should buy. If you want to have a good microphone, if you're using a crystal lapel mic, this is a definite major league step up.
Hey Dan, pan over a little bit. The mic is off the shadow of the shot right now. Let's see. Pan your camera.
You mean this
there? You
guy?
Go. There's the mic.
There's the Harlan Hogan VR.
There's the beauty.
I'll even take this off, and you can like look at it and
vomit cam.
Ooh, there it is. The Harlan Hogan VO1A. Great microphone, sounds fabulous. He advertises it all over the place with great advertisements, but because it's a great microphone. You know, there are more expensive microphones, but as I like to say, they all sound the same to a certain extent. But for one that doesn't cost as much as those big expensive mics, it sounds just as good. And the fact of the matter is, on the far end, nobody really knows the difference. But this one is really good for the price. So go on over to voiceoveressentials.com, say hello to Harlan Hogan over there, and buy a VO1A and all the other great stuff he has. Anyway, thanks, Harlan, for being with us since the beginning of time.
Yes, thanks, Harlan. Thank you very much, man.
All righty. Anyway, do we have Liz on the actual phone here now?
Well, we're going to do something fun that we like to do on the show, and that is do something completely insane, like try to bring the guest in on a completely different new technology.
Okay.
So we're going to try IPDTL.
IPDITL.
So we're going to do the whole thing live on the show so you guys can see the process of somebody connecting together on IPDITL for the very first time.
Okay.
So I'm going to bring the IPDITL window into the shot here.
Okay.
And we'll let you guys see what we're doing here. So Liz is going to give me, let's see, I'm going to log in.
Okay.
Okay, I'm logged into IPDITL now. So now
we have to come up with an IPDITL theme song.
I know. Just sit back. Okay. What is your IPDITL name? Once in a while, we like to make sausage on the show. And it's an educational segment because a lot of you probably may or may not have played with IPDITL. So this will be an opportunity to give it a shot. See if we can make it work.
Okay.
So I'm waiting for her to...
Just talk amongst yourselves while we're doing this.
Just waiting for her to respond.
Well, okay. Well, I guess I could talk more about the Harlan Hogan headphones, since I just happen to have them wrapped around a chair over
Go
here.
for it, buddy.
There we go. Here, these are the Harlan Hogan Signature Series headphones, designed for voiceover. Lots of quality went into these things. You know, there's the headband, which is far more comfortable than any headband you've ever worn before. It had leather pads, memory foam on the inside. It remembers what your ears are like. So soft and sensitive. And they sound a little different from those phones that you would like to listen to Pink Floyd on, or whatever it is you kids listen to these days. You should try them. He has a money-back guarantee on them. If you don't like them, send them back. The fact of the matter is once you have them, you'll go, why did I ever do voiceover without them? So go on over there and let's see what you can do with really great headphones. Okay. So, how are we doing on this so far?
Well, we were conversing there for a while, and I haven't heard from her in a little while. So maybe she's trying to get IPDTL loaded up and ready to go.
Okay, because there's still more to talk about with her.
I know. I want to ditch her, but for whatever reason, Skype's being really ornery tonight. Like when she called in, normally I can just add her to the call,
right?
Like just patch her in, and it wouldn't let me do it. It just I could either answer or hang up. If I answered, it interrupted you. So Skype is being really funky tonight.
All right. Do we have audio? Somebody's saying they don't have any audio.
I don't know why, because I'm certainly transmitting 5x5.
Okay, then that's their problem, not ours.
Anybody else having no? Well, that's my mom. Mom, I love you, but
she just can't hear.
If nobody else is having trouble, it's probably you.
All right. Well, while we're trying to get Liz back on the line, I guess I could go through some of the announcements.
Yes, let's jump to announcements.
All right.
Why not?
All right. Well, we'd like to thank our donors, of course. And, of course, you can donate to our show. We need the help. As you can see, we obviously need new Skype software.
No, we're going to get rid of Skype eventually. Trust me. Mark my words. Skype is going to go away.
Yes, we've looked at a couple other technologies where we can get my picture and our picture of our guest, and it'll be like we're on network TV.
I might even go to meeting at this point. It could be better.
Let's not go that far.
I would almost consider it.
All righty. But you can donate to the show, and thanks to Eric Aragoni, who does it every week, and a bunch of other people donated last week as well. And, of course, we still have lots of East West Audio Body Shop clickers, which you can purchase for $5 on our website. So that's that thing. By the way, I've got a new video available myself, available from VoiceOver Extra on the basics of Audacity. I had the audacity to go out and do that. And this is actually a full-length, hour-long video of me explaining soup to nuts how you use Audacity. So if you're challenged by Audacity, I'll break it down for you. It's real easy. It's just $39. Go on over to VoiceOver Extra and ask John Florian to sign you up for it. You get the video, and on April 8th, we're doing a live Q&A about Audacity. I don't want questions about your marriage or anything along those lines, only Audacity. But that's on April 8th. For $39, you get the video, and you get the live Q&A. So don't miss that. By the way, we have a new YouTube channel. So if you want to watch this show and maybe edit out this particular section, you can go to youtube.com /EWABS show with two S's, EWABS SHOW, one word though. And also there's a playlist there that can help you find the content you want. All 135, and after this one, 136 episodes of East West Audio Body Shop are available right there on YouTube, so you can watch all of them. So if you missed something, you're gonna have a long time, but you're going to enjoy every one of it. That's got to represent at least 230 hours of stuff, considering how many times we go to 10:30 and stuff.
Yeah, really. That'll be one of those nights.
Yes. How are we doing so far?
Well,
any closer?
I don't know if Liz's computer crashed or if it got shut down, but she's not in the chat room. At least she's not talking, and she's not in Skype anymore.
Oh, okay.
So she is she in the chat room? No, doesn't look like it.
All right. Well,
she might have gotten booted off. I don't know.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll try to.
Bill Gates might be mad at us for making fun of Microsoft, so maybe he.
I didn't make fun of it. I just said, "Are you on a PC?" Whatever.
Yeah, I know. Everybody, I know that the whole Mac versus PC thing is way played out, and nothing is perfect. But right. And in fact, the transition to Mavericks has certainly not been completely smooth, which is why I had to scramble tonight to go from Mavericks back to Mountain Lion to get on the air tonight. Right. But let's see. Yeah, the chat room's trying to help me out.
I have an idea here. Let me try something.
All right.
I'm going to try something, and let me see if this works.
All right. Troubleshooting at its best, folks.
That's
Live on the air.
Add. Let's see if this works. All right. Anyway, while we're waiting for that all to hook up, also, EWABS Essentials, some of the greatest stuff ever heard on this show is available in short little vignettes of like 3 to 4 minutes. Some of our great guests who have said some great things over the years, and little learning nuggets, things that you might find interesting. That's also on YouTube. Look for EWABS Essentials. They'll be there. And, of course, we'll send out a notice every time there's a new one. Next week, by the way, on our show, guess who's going to be here? Dr. Joel Bernstein will be joining us, and he's going to be talking about rhinosinusitis. So if you want to go to the zoo and check out and see what nasal conditions the rhinoceros are in. Now, rhinosinusitis has to do with your sinuses and swollen sinuses, and the guy is a world-renowned expert on it, and we all, especially this winter, we've been suffering from all sorts of sinus-type issues. That didn't work, George. So join us next Monday night. Joel will actually be sitting right here, so we won't have to deal with Skype next week except for our main connection between George and I, which seems to be working fine tonight.
It has been working really fine lately, actually.
That's true.
I'm going to call Liz on her landline and just use speakerphone, because at this point, we're not getting very quickly anywhere quickly.
This is highly unusual, folks. Yeah. I mean, it didn't used to be unusual, but now it's been unusual. On March 31st, I have a guest planned out. I'm not going to commit to him right now, but it's going to be very interesting, something you're all going to want to hear about. April 7th, we have a fabulous program on April 7th. Do not miss this one. This is going to be different from anything else we've ever done. We're going to have a voice actors coaches roundtable. Some of the best coaches in the business, like we've done with our Audio Masters Roundtable. We're going to have some of the best coaches, and we're going to talk about the voiceover industry and what's really required of voice actors today. We're going to have people like Mark Cashman and Ellie Ray Hennessy, Elaine Clark, and who else did we get for this one? There was one other person, I believe. Am I alone? George? Am I on the air?
I'm on the phone, Dan, with Liz.
Okay. Okay. Anyway, join us April 7th for our Voice Actors Roundtable. And then way in the future on April 21st, I'm going to be in Southern California. George and I are going to be together for our 3rd anniversary show of East West Audio Body Shop. Can you believe March 22nd, 2011, we started this show, 2 tin cans and a string, and a long, long string between Buffalo and Santa Monica. And we got this show going, and you guys have stayed with us through thick and thin, a little thin tonight, but we've been here, and we're going to have a little bit of a party in Southern California. We're pretty sure where we're going to have it. We now have 2 places competing. My mom wants to have the party now. So we'll see what happens with that. Anyway, how we doing, George?
All right, we're trying to connect on IPDTL right now, Dan. Fingers crossed.
All right. We're going to get the rest of the stuff with Liz. So do not go anywhere. If you got questions, she's going to answer them. And what?
Hey, hang on, Dan.
Okay. Standing by.
See if I can hear you. Oh, yeah, I hear you.
Okay. But do we hear Liz?
Yeah, I hear Liz.
But I don't hear Liz.
Hang on.
I can barely hear Liz. I hear her in there somewhere.
I'm hearing myself 3 times. Hang on a second, guys.
Dun, da, 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 da.
IPDTL is awesome.
There we go. Yay! Liz has returned.
I'm here.
All right.
Yay! We did
it.
It's
all good, guys.
Now that was a tap dance.
Wasn't it?
Oh, it was.
Throw in my wife checking to see if I'm done the show yet. Trying to talk to me at the same time. That was the perfect storm. We couldn't get our guests.
Sorry, honey.
We're trying.
All right. Oh, that sounds so much better.
Wow, it sounds kick ass.
So what were we talking about?
So freaking good. Let's just redo. Let's scrap the first half of the show. And no, I'm just kidding.
Okay.
No, it sounds so awesome. You guys hear?
Yeah, I'm getting a little bit of a slap back, but I don't care.
That's because I'm trying to do 2 mixed minuses, and I've never done this live on our show before. So
Well, see, I'm glad to be a guinea pig.
I'm very glad to have you as a guinea pig. It sounds great on my end, which I guess is the most important thing.
And it sounds,
of course, it's the most important thing, George.
As they used to say on CBs, you are wall to wall.
Oh,
or 5 by 5.
5 by 5, wall to
okay.
wall. As long as you don't take a 10-100. Okay.
Or a 5150?
There's an obscure one. Anyway, let's get back to Liz because you're far more interesting than the crap we were talking about.
We were the worst time killers ever.
It's like, keep stretching it. Yeah, let's keep stretching it. Let's go.
That's why we have all this extra content here.
See?
Anyway,
you guys are so smart.
All right.
So what do you want to know?
Well, I wanted to know, one of the other things you do, because we covered, we talked pretty heavily about IVR there until the IVR went totally to crap. Now, you also do bilingual voiceover.
Yes, English and French.
English and French, but you grew up in a multilingual home. Tell us a little bit about
that. Yes, I did. Well, my dad spoke 8 languages. My mom spoke 4. And what I tell people is that I speak English and French, natively. I'm conversational in Russian, and my German and Hungarian is good enough to find the nearest bar or bathroom.
Whichever is more important at that particular moment.
Is more urgent at the time.
That's right. So I take it your father spoke a lot of languages.
Mm-hmm.
How many?
Yeah, my dad spoke 8.
8 languages.
8 languages fluently, yeah, and my mom 4.
Oh, well, for a total.
So basically, the common language was French, and I wasn't actually allowed to speak English at home until I started high school, and that's because I started a French high school.
Wow. Oh,
yeah, but I grew up in New York City.
Not one of the great French-speaking cities in America, but
no, except it has a great French high school.
But yeah, so how did you get into doing bilingual voiceover or more and doing things in French? Have you done anything besides French? Well, let me ask you that.
I actually have. I've done some, again, especially for IVR, where sometimes they'll ask me, well, we need you for English and French, but we need a couple of lines and I'm sorry, Melissa and Amy, in advance. I will do a line or 2 in Spanish, although I try to get people to, get somebody who speaks it natively. But I have actually, the most I've ever done in one IVR job was 5, where I did a line in English, a line in French, a line in Spanish, a line in Russian, and a line in German. That was the most I've done. But most of the time I stick to English and French, and I really try to steer people to native speakers because it just sounds a lot better for them, and for their clients. Although I did do a short sample last week, actually, for a client in Russian. It was an IVR job that they have a Russian speaker, but every once in a while she's not available, or if she isn't available, she asked me whether I spoke Russian, and I said, actually, yeah, I do. She's like, really? So I took a portion of the script and I sent it to her, and I said, look, I'm not native as I am in French because I speak, it's almost like an older version of Russian. I mean, it was from my grandmother, and, she was in the early of this last century. But it's good enough to pass, for short jobs.
So how long have you been doing, let me rephrase it. When did you start doing the bilingual stuff? When did you figure, I should be doing it?
Pretty much right away, because I knew that it was an asset. I knew that it was something that I could offer clients that not everybody can, frankly. And so what I started to do is actually audition for French jobs. What's really interesting, however, is that my delivery is neutral. In other words, it's pretty accent-less. And when I first started, I started auditioning for things for France because, again, I actually have 2 passports. I have an American passport and a French passport, and I went to a French high school. And so I figured, okay, I'm going to start auditioning for the French jobs. Well, I wasn't getting hired because what they were looking for was a truly Parisian accent and a Parisian delivery, which I don't have. And a friend of mine actually said, well, my girlfriend who's from Montreal listened to your demo and said, oh, no, she'd do great in Canada. And I was like, really? Okay. Because I was panicked. I'm like, I don't speak Québécois. And I auditioned for some jobs for native Canadian French speaker, and I started getting booked. And I will tell you that now 99.9% of my French work is for Canada, for the Canadian market, and about 50% total of my VO work is in French for Canada.
So I played hockey for many years, and I learned how to swear in French.
Oh, well, of course. And I'm a hockey fan, too. So, of course, we won't talk about the Sabres now, will we?
Not a word. It's got a bit of a rebuilding process going on right now.
Right. That's what the Devils are doing now, too, believe me.
You should just trade teams. That'd make it a lot easier.
No, we're keeping Marty, at least hopefully for another year.
Is he going to live that long? I mean, come on.
Stop! Don't even joke about that.
He's almost older than me. Anyway, so all right. So French is an interesting language to communicate in. How does it? I mean, aside from obviously the words, I mean, those darn French have a different word for everything.
I know.
But how is the delivery different, and how do you adjust?
First of all,
for
it's
that?
a lot longer.
Yeah.
And this is something that actually Spanish speakers deal with this as well. When you have a script in English, it's going to grow by anywhere from 25 to 30% in French. So you have 100 words in English, it's going to be 125 in French. And what that means is if you have a video that someone has created, and they've created the video around the English VO, and then they send it to a translator, hopefully, and not put it through Google Translate, which don't even get me started on that.
Don't go there.
We won't even go there. What will happen is that it'll invariably grow. And so I have actually two options with the client. I can tell them, okay, do you have any leeway with the video? Can you add frames? And if they can, then it's great. Then it's no problem. I can speak at a normal pace. If they can't, then I have to really speed up my delivery. And sometimes to the point where I start sounding like Alvin and the Chipmunks, because it's just, you can't fit it all in. I remember I was doing a UN-style video dubbing in the city. The English script was 23 words, okay, and they could not change that. The French version was 42 words. Okay. And I made it fit. It sounded awful, but I made it fit.
But it meant the exact same thing. Or
it does. It means English is an extremely concise language, and French is not. French is extremely wordy. So there's nothing, you can make it a little bit shorter, but again, there are articles in French that the English don't have. You have different tenses. You have the polite form, and you have the conversational form, and all those things affect the length of the words that are used and the amount of words that are used.
All righty. Well, we got a few questions from our audience, and then there's one other topic I wanted to go over with you. But let's go to our wonderful audience who have been incredibly patient tonight because
they're so great. You have the best audience in the world.
I know. They've hung out with us for 136 episodes. I guess they're pretty well committed. Okay.
Sure they should be. Yeah.
That was coming next. That was next on my lips there. The wonderful, talented, and gorgeous Ann Richardson asks, what is the minimum amount you'll do a job for? For example, a voicemail greeting for one mailbox. Not that we want to get into your specific rates, but you give us a
here's the thing with telephony. Okay, no, it's a valid question, and there are really two ways to get into telephony. One is to actually get on the roster of a message on hold company. Okay, and they set the rates. Okay, so if you decide to work with a company, they will set a rate, and that varies between as little as 8 cents a word to 50 cents, $50 for a paragraph, and those are that's recurring. The thing with telephony, especially, and if you get on the roster with a telephony company, what will happen is you're going to get work consistently from them because they're going to get hired. But their clients are going to pick your voice. And so consistently, you're going to be used.
Right.
And that is the advantage for telephony. Now, if you're working directly with a client, then obviously I charge higher rates. And what I generally have is I have a minimum session fee, and then I have a per prompt rate. And that minimum session fee, and that really depends on where you are in terms of your VO career. It also depends on the client itself. My minimums started when I started almost 10 years ago, started at $100. And now it's up to $200. It's up to $200 for a minimum, and then I have a per prompt rate. And, basically what happens is that you have that minimum basically to turn on your mic. Now, some clients I charge less for. They've been with me longer, and I will charge less. I have message on hold companies whose rosters I'm on who, in the unit price is really low, but I bill them at the end of the month, and it adds up. So I'd say about 30 to 35% of my work is actually telephony work.
Yeah.
And it's really, and I'm literally behind the mic every day doing telephony work. So.
Yeah. So you keep hoping that there'll be clients that have 7,000, 8,000 employees, right? All
sure.
with their own
Absolutely.
voicemail box.
Absolutely. But that's the thing, is that it really is, it's a recurring job.
Right.
It really is. There's always, especially if you're picked by a client, if you're on the roster of a company and a client likes you, they will always use you because they want to sound consistent to their clients.
Right. Let me ask you this. What's the weirdest, I know I'm putting you on the spot, but I'm sure you'll have one for this. What's the weirdest phone prompt you've ever done for somebody?
That's actually a pretty easy one.
Okay.
When I was still, it's one that, the weirdest is still one that I was recording for when I was working at the corporate recording studio. We were doing the recordings for a pharmaceutical company, and all of the pharmacies and the pharmacy names, we were recording thousands upon thousands upon thousands. I think it was a total of like 10,000 pharmacy names from all over the country. Mm-hmm. And we had it was me and another guy. I was doing the afternoons with the voice talent, and he was doing the mornings with the voice talent. And at the end of the day, we would say, okay, what's the pharmacy name of the day? And our favorites so far were the TNA Pharmacy and the S&M Pharmacy. I am not kidding you. And, it's just... Okay, then.
If you're lucky, you'll get to do some spots for some small Amish towns in Pennsylvania, such as Blue Ball and Intercourse.
Oh, there you go.
Yes. Real towns.
One called Nora's Nipples, too, I think.
What?
Absolutely. Hey, look at a map.
That's up there with Coxsackie, New York.
Yes. Or Gay, Michigan.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. There we go. Oh, yeah. This is already going downhill.
It's like rolling down with intense momentum.
Yes.
Karen O'Brien asks a great question. Do you need a telephony-specific demo for telephony?
Oh, Karen. Sure, make me feel guilty. Go ahead. Oh, I owe Karen a phone call, and I owe Karen help.
Well,
yes.
She's listening to you
actually,
now. So.
Yeah. Actually, yes, you do, because it is a specific niche in the VO industry, and one thing you want to keep in mind when you're doing IVR as well as message on hold. Now, there are two parts of telephony. There's IVR, interactive voice response, which is, for sales, press 1, for technical support, press 2, for John Smith's voicemail, press 3, okay?
Right.
Message on hold is a little bit different. That's more like a commercial that you're listening to while you're waiting on hold for the person that you want to talk to.
Right.
And so each of those requires a different type of delivery. So you're not going to give the same delivery for a trucking company as you are for a funeral home, as you are for a sports bar, as you are for a furniture retailer. Okay? And so, yes, you do want to have a separate demo, and it's not one that actually needs to be produced that much, because IVR generally has no music behind it. Right. And the music behind message on hold is generally very subtle.
The girl from Ipanema and stuff like that.
Yeah, when I do that, I try to pick something a little bit,
more
bit better. But yeah, so they're not overly produced, but they do want to hear what your different deliveries are. So yes, I would suggest that you have one, especially if you're going to be marketing yourself to message on hold companies. They don't only want to hear your commercial demo or your e-learning demo. They do want to hear a telephony demo. Yeah.
Okay.
And actually also what's going to also happen is a lot of telephony companies will then have you record a custom demo that basically all of the voice talents say the same thing so that clients can listen and hear sort of the same words from all different talent. So you're most likely, if you get on a roster, you may be asked to actually record some prompts specifically for them to put on their website.
All right. Well, what goes into on a telephony demo?
Well, what mine has is actually a mix of both message on hold and IVR. Mm-hmm. And I just find that that's easier because most people will need both. So I have, sections of for sales press 1 for, I actually haven't listened to my telephony demo in a while. But it has both pieces with music and without, and with slightly different deliveries. But it's a pretty, and you don't want to have it over a minute. Everything's pretty much at a minute. So I would do, mine's a mix of both message on hold and IVR.
All righty. Sylvia McClure asks, can you ask Liz if she experiences an accept creep in French? I'm not exactly sure what that means.
What's an accept creep?
I have no idea what that means.
Maybe like, I can do this except I
creep.
Except for this? Is that what she means?
No, I don't know what an accept creep is.
It's ACCEC.
Oh, okay.
Accept creep.
I don't know what that means. I'm sorry.
Oh, accent creep. Oh, no, if Anthony would pay attention to his typing there.
Accent creep.
Accent creep in French. Is there an accent creep in French?
Oh, you mean, do they ask me to do English with a French accent?
Is
that what they ask?
Do you have to be a creep in French?
Do you have to be? Oh, don't get me started. How easy that could be. I'm not quite sure what the question is, unfortunately. But
I think it's a matter of. You say you do your stuff mostly unaccented.
I do. I actually make a point of that, and what I tell my clients is that if they want something Parisian, truly Parisian, frankly, I send them to Claire Dodin. And if they want something with a true Québécois accent, then I will send them either to Liane Lodbinière or to Catherine Vasilopoulos.
Well,
there's enough work for anybody.
Rolled right off the tongue.
What?
That was amazing.
Because really there's enough work for everybody, and I truly believe that. And I am very upfront with people when they ask me, well, are you, do you have a Québécois accent? And I always write back and I say, no. I said, I'm a neutral speaker. What I have found with my clients is that when they hear my delivery, they actually like the fact that they can't hear or they don't know where the heck I'm from. Mm-hmm. They know I'm a native speaker.
Non-regional diction.
Huh?
You have like non-regional diction.
Exactly. And what I tell people is, I'm understood by everyone and I insult no one.
And that's saying something for the French.
Yeah,
especially in French.
We love you.
Especially in French, right?
We love you, everybody in France. Sorry.
Hey, I have a French passport. I can say this.
Okay.
My cousins are French. Believe me, I get a lot of the yeah, tu es ricaine. I get a lot of you're the American of the family.
Right.
Devox asks, sort of switching gears on this, any recording or editing or processing differences between telephony and other narration? I would think so.
Well, yes. Again, if you're working for a roster, then generally they will always say, we want no processing, we want nothing on it. Because they will do whatever processing they need on their end. So when I'm working with my clients, I do have a slight normalization that I put on things so that everything pretty much is at the same level, but it's very slight. And sometimes, and there are clients that I actually don't do anything for. So there really isn't much processing to be done in telephony, and especially if you're already converting to different file formats, frankly, it really doesn't make any difference. because it's going on a phone line, guys. You know, it's it's really not going to sound that great anyway.
That's right.
This is a very different. The quality of what you're going to sound like on the phone is not going to be what you hear on the radio, what you hear even in e-learning or corporate narration, or even, you know, on the web with explainer videos. It's a very different animal.
Absolutely. Lee Penny, changing gears completely again. Lee Penny asks, why so many languages in your family?
That's interesting. My dad was actually an ethnic Hungarian living in what is now Slovakia. And his dad was Hungarian. His mom, my grandmother, was Austrian. So you already had the German and the Austrian. And then you had the Slovak. He spoke Slovak for the help. That's the only other way I could put it. My dad came from a rather wealthy family, which, of course, everything got lost in World War II. And so given that he was from a certain class in his family, he was actually taught English, French, and Italian from the age of 5. So, yeah. And then he learned Russian when he met my mom, and then Spanish when he came to the States.
Well, it is, you know, the number one language here in America now.
Well, if you want to hear a funny story, my dad was a doctor in New York City in the 1950s. And when he started there in, I think it was 1958 or 59, he was the only Spanish-speaking doctor at the hospital. It was just it's really crazy.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's fascinating. I think it's fascinating that everywhere in the world tries to learn how to speak English, but you know, it doesn't seem to fit into. I mean, we teach it in high school, and then you have it in college. But we don't, you know, it's fun to go to Europe and try and fit in, you know, like you're on a bus and a lady looks at you and goes, "Que hora?" Yeah. It's what time is it? Yeah, I understand.
Yeah, there you go.
That's about the extent of my Spanish.
You know, it's really funny because with the backgrounds that I have, I can pretty much get around anywhere, which is really great.
That does help.
And it's actually, when I lived in France, I lived in France my junior year of college, and I lived with 2 of my cousins. And I basically told them, I said, you can say I'm your cousin. You are not allowed to say that I'm your cousin from America. Sorry, can't do it.
Yeah. Well, it's fascinating stuff. Well, let's finish up here because, you know, it's getting late and we've had a few technical difficulties, but it's been great having you on here.
Thank you. It's been fun.
I know. One of the things that I love about you is because you're involved in our community. And give us your thoughts on just espouse a little bit on your thoughts on why voiceover community is so important.
I think it's huge because, first of all, I mean, I put it on Facebook not long ago. In the space of 24 hours, I got recommended for voiceover jobs by 6 different people. Okay? And I think that there is a sense in our industry that there really isn't competition because we all sound different. And in order to succeed, I think, in especially in our business, it really is a matter of who you know in a good sense.
Absolutely.
Because I have a resource of people that I know for just about any type of job that any of my clients would need. You know, everything from Spanish with Melissa X and Amy Taylor to, of course, the voice of God, Doug Turkel. Sorry, Doug. No, to, you know, Doug's delivery, to your delivery, to, you know, the different languages that I have on my website. I mean, it is so important to be there for each other in terms of being able to spread the word and keep rates at a certain level, you know, not in terms of you know, fixing rates, but knowing what a rate is for different types of work so that you're not undercutting yourself.
Yeah.
So I think it's really important to have that community, but in order to do that, you need to participate. It's a give and take, and I have as much fun giving work to other people and throwing my clients, it's like, no, I can't do this, but here, go to this person, go to my website, look at all the languages I've got. If you need German, if you need Spanish, if you need Russian, I've got a ton of male talent on my site that, want explainer videos, go to Tom Deere.
What goes around comes around.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
It's just to me, it's part of being a part of this community.
Absolutely. We're all one big business, so
absolutely.
And as long as we're supporting each other, we're doing okay.
Oh, yeah.
And you're, of course, you're a perennial at FAFCon. Always a pleasure to see you there.
Yeah, I haven't missed one yet, and I plan not to miss any. You can't see it, but I'm wearing my FAFCon San Antonio shirt right now.
I'm wearing my FAF Camp shirt, even though I wasn't there, which is
you weren't. Oh, slacker.
Well, I sponsored it. I wanted to make sure everybody had a good time. So I got a T-shirt
fun.
on that. I heard it was a great time. Where I was,
moving on.
Which is a whole nother story. But it did have to do with voiceover, so we'll talk about it some other time. Anyway, so the next FAFCon coming up a little bit later, and you're going to be joining us at WovoCon too, which will be
I am.
I'm
going to be at WovoCon, absolutely. Now, wait a minute. Hold on, back up. Do you know something about the next FAFCon that I don't know about?
It's going to happen.
Okay, well, yeah. Gee, thanks.
Amy's actually talking about it again, so I
know.
Guess we know when it's going to be. We know.
Whoa! What do you mean you know when it's going to be?
It's going to be,
in the fall.
I heard October.
Well, that's a year from the last one, which is what she had said. Yeah,
that's
she had
right.
said that in San Antonio. She said a year
right.
later.
And we know it'll be somewhere around
west of the Mississippi and south
of San Francisco.
San Francisco, right?
Which could be
San Diego. I'm thinking.
I'm
thinking San Diego.
Pahrump, Nevada, for all we know. Which I hear is an interesting place, but
okay.
But we don't get out that much. We're all talking with each other and having a great time.
Right, we're all in our own padded cells.
Most of the time. Well, Liz, it's been fabulous, just fabulous having you on with us, and thanks for your
pleasure.
Thanks for your patience and putting up with our technical difficulties tonight,
and being able to punt with me and go to IBTL mid-show, which was awesome.
That's what I'm here for.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for being with us. I look forward to seeing you next month.
Absolutely. Thanks a lot, guys. It's been fun.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.
Liz de Nesnera. I think I pronounced that right.
We never even asked her to say her own name, so we still don't really know how to pronounce it.
It's de Nesnera.
I'll take your word for it.
I think that's correct, actually. I think the only person who actually knows is Dave Quavasi. I don't even think Liz knows how to pronounce it.
Well, you never know. It depends which family member you ask. Probably.
This is true.
Well,
okay, all right. Well, we've gone through all the announcements.
Good.
We made good use of that, and it's like this one ran long, but we had a long delay.
Yeah. I'm going to leave it all in the show intact, warts and all, guys, because this is the real deal. Our show is for real. We don't edit for content. This is what you see, what you get. You don't like it, fast forward. You know what I mean? But thanks for everybody that's watched this long. I really appreciate it. And we definitely have to thank our wives tonight.
Yeah, we do. I heard some rustling over there earlier, so it's like
just at the worst possible time. My wife comes in. Are you done the show yet? I'm like, no. I'm like talking to you and Liz on my phone at the same time, and I'm just like looking at her like, no, not right now, no.
Yeah. When the door gets closed on this studio, you don't come near.
I am going to rig up an on the air sign. I promise. I really intend to do it because I have the right board to do it. I just got to run the wires and get that thing rigged up. So when she knows my mic is open, we're really on the air.
Razor wire.
Razor wire.
Razor wire. That'll keep him out.
Oh, you mean like when I go on the air, what razor wire fence comes up?
Yes, exactly.
Oh my God.
Anyway, well, we'd like to thank our sponsors also. Aside from our wives, Marcy and Amy, they do a yeoman's job keeping things alive while we're in here having our fun.
Yeah.
But like to thank Harlan Hogan, VoiceOver Extra, and now, of course, our wonderful friends at Edge Studio. Go over to their website. Also, please like us on Facebook. Now, explain this new Facebook page. We got 1,300 likes on there. Things are kind of weird, but Everybody showed up tonight, so obviously
Facebook.com/EWABS.
That makes it easy.
I think that's all you got to know. Take you right there.
All right. And everything will be there. We can have our forums there. And
well, we're going to keep the group because the group is just such a unique. Yeah. By the way, Facebook.com/EWABS. Sorry, wrong. I'm seeing if any of the other combinations of names that I thought I had set up a custom link for the shop. Is it EWABS shop? There it is. Facebook.com/EWABS shop, like our email address. EWASHOP. Yes, that is the Facebook. Yes, we'll have a lot more activity on there, but the group's going to stay alive because the group dynamic is different. The way you participate in it is different. So if you have liked us, but you haven't been in the group and you want to be involved in more in-depth conversation, ongoing off the air, that's the place to hang out. It's a great place. So ask for an invite to join our Facebook group, just called EWABS. But yeah,
makes it a lot easier.
Yeah.
All right. So please like us there. Also, follow us on Twitter. George, you're getting great at getting the Twitter stuff out, because if you don't know where to find this show on Tuesday morning, you're not looking. You're not looking. Let's see. Subscribe to us on YouTube, to the new channel, because it's a great new channel. Everything is there, and like each and every one of those videos 5 times.
Please do.
All right.
Even though you can't do that, but yes, please do. And tell your friends.
Well, just sign in as a different name.
Oh, okay. There you go.
Okay. All right. Also, like to thank our producer, Kathy Curden, Anthony Gettig for all his help in the chat room, Jack DeGolia for doing all the show notes. He does a great job of that. Jason Lawson, Feel Better, and Lee Penny also for his production assistance with those podcasts, which have also huge listenership.
Yes. All righty.
So that's going to do it for this week.
Yes, it
Take
is.
a hit of oxygen. Have another beer.
Gonna have one now.
I have several. It is still St. Patrick's Day for a couple more hours. Not that either of us are Irish, but
poke a fork in this baby. It's done.
It's done. I'm Dan Leonard in the East.
And I'm George Woodham in the West.
And together we are East West Audio Body Shop. Have a great week, everybody. We'll see you next Sunday night or Monday night. Sunday night. What am I thinking? A little too much of this. Next Monday night. Dr. Joel Bernstein will be with us. Do not miss it. It's going to be a great show, just like this one was. We'll see you next week. Take care, everybody.
Cheers.